And we are live. Peace and Black Power family. Welcome to another episode of the One on One Real Talk weekly session with the Not I But We Dream Team. Broadcast live here on Do Knowledge Radio every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we have here one of the newer members of the New Order National Human Rights Organization, National Field Director,
Yes.
Mrs. Takesha Chandler in the building. Welcome to the show. Glad to
Thank,
have you here.
thank you, Knowledge. Thank you for having me.
Oh, definitely, definitely. Uh, I wouldn't want to be on the other side of your bullhorn. You understand what I'm saying? So
Yeah, I
I'm gonna
do.
make sure I stay on your good side.
I do.
So
I do.
let's start kind of with an introduction for you, and what was it about New Order National Human Rights Organization that made you want to join, some of your background, and let's talk about your role in the organization.
Okay. Well, like you said, I'm Takesha Chandler. I am now the new National Field Director for New Order, National Human Rights Organization. I'm from Demopolis, Alabama. Born and raised in Demopolis, Alabama, small town, small state of Alabama. I'm sure you've heard of Alabama. You know something about Alabama. Um, what got me interested with Mr. Rose and the New Order organization? My son at 18 years old was accused of rape in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. He's now 22 years old. He's incarcerated right now. He was wrongfully convicted. We are doing a lot of work trying to get him home. We're actually working with attorneys right now, still working on that. He's been incarcerated right at 3 years. Um, I wanted to fight for my son. They convicted my son, found him guilty, sentenced him to 45 years in prison. He was accused of raping a white girl in 2016 after an Iron Bowl game. They didn't arrest my son until January of 2018 for this incident. He was also attending school in Tuscaloosa, Alabama also. Well, when he was accused of rape, he's never been in trouble. I never had to deal with the police or court systems, really. So all this was kind of new to me. After his guilty plea back in January of 2020, I knew I had to come home. I was working in South Carolina at the time. I had actually taken a
Mhm.
district manager position with a realty company in South Carolina. So I was living in South Carolina at the time of this guilty plea. Um, I had no intentions on moving back to Alabama. After this, I was going to work and fight for my son in South Carolina. Um, but it was hard for me to try to be in South Carolina and work for my son who's in Alabama incarcerated. So I got a message from God telling me I had to move home. So I mean, my job, I had a good job, making decent money, close to my grandchildren who's in North Carolina. So my son was in North Carolina. So I was okay. And I was going to continue to fight for Kobe while living in South Carolina. Well, a week after uh, the verdict, I mean, the guilty, they found him guilty. God told me that I needed to come home and fight for my son. I reached out to NAACP. I reached out to Reverend Al Sharpton. I reached out to a lot of people, to try and get some help, to try to get someone to help me with this. I came home, maybe a week and a half later, I moved home. I quit my job. They wouldn't give me a leave of absence. So I ended up resigning from my job because this is something God told me I had to do for my child. So I moved home.
Right.
rallied in front of the courthouse, Tuscaloosa County Courthouse. I rallied there for maybe 2 weeks. Um, didn't have any support, which is a systemic problem around the world. Didn't have any type of support, no one but me out there rallying. And one of my friends from my hometown who lives in Georgia actually called me and told me that I needed to reach out to Gerald. So I started following Gerald immediately, seeing what he was doing around the world, and that's something I felt in my heart that I wanted to do. So my employer asked me, what did I want to do once I was done rallying for my son? And I told him I want to do this for the rest of my life. And at that time, knowledge, I had no idea what I was talking about, didn't realize how hard this would be. So I started following Gerald, looked at their mission statement. I started following him around. I loved what he did. So I said, this is something I want to do. So that's how Gerald and that's how I got started with New Order. I followed them. He reached out to me, asking me about what was going on with my son, update status and stuff like that. He kept in touch with me about that situation. So I became a member, and here I am.
So can you kind of tell us, what's going on with your son and how you kind of dealing with everything that's going on? How your family dealing with everything that's going on?
Yes. Well, right now we've had to hire trial attorneys right now. So they're very well known attorneys in the Birmingham area. They're civil rights lawyers. They're trying to get a new trial right now. They're trying to have this sentence, vacated altogether right now. They have so many ways they violated my son's rights, and just really no evidence to everything that they say he did and he was accused of. So that's what they're looking at right now. They see, it's a really big case right now that they're working with. So right now he's still in Tuscaloosa County Jail, incarcerated. They're not doing anything right now due to the virus. So we're just waiting to get a new trial, or just to go to the Supreme Court and have them to listen at the arguments and the evidence and see where we can go from there. But right now we're just praying and holding on, and we have faith in God that he's going to come home, and he's remaining innocent until we get through this.
So how are y'all kind of keeping him motivated? Frustrations get in, and involved with everything. Emotions get high, tempers play, all kind of stuff. You see, especially wrongfully accused, and to bear this kind of burden, going in as a young black man in that kind of system, in that particular place with that kind of charge. You understand what I'm saying? So like, how are y'all, using these opportunities? Kind of like keep it focused, because it's easy to go wrong, in that way.
Oh yes. Right now, we read the Bible. We talk at least 20, 30 times a day. He's able to call all the family members, have a conversation with everyone. Around 7:00 in the afternoon, we play his rap music. We play whatever he wants to hear to keep him motivated and to keep his sanity right now. We have our good days and we have our bad days. There's some days where he calls and he's upset and thinking he can no longer, hang in there. And that's when we have to have that talk and start praying, immediately for God to strengthen him. And not just my son. We pray for the other inmates in there also. There's a lot of guys in there that's, in there for being wrongfully convicted of these horrible crimes. So right now we just talk a lot. We read the Bible, let him listen to music, and his attorney has it where we can mail them pictures. They go through the pictures, make sure they're okay, and they're able to send him pictures of all family members right now. So that's what's really keeping him going and keeping his spirits lifted up, and knowing that he'll be home soon.
I think that's very important. Oftentimes, I think we forget intricacies like that, and feeling the effects, and it's a dual effect. Y'all are there on one side, being strong, and y'all got to be strong for each other too, renew each other in faith, keep each other uplifted, and try not to transmute any of that energy to him, what he has going on. You see what I'm saying? So I think
Yes,
that has to be a definitely a challenge. You see what I'm saying? So
it is. It
and
is. It really
you
is.
know
But we're getting
me-
through it.
I'm glad y'all definitely in my prayers, and anything that
Thank
I
you.
could do to help. If he needs a voice here, if it's a way for us to get a conversation with him, he's welcome. To share his
Thank
story
you.
here as well. You know,
Thank
um,
you.
yeah, we definitely here for that, because you never know what something could do for somebody. You see what I'm
Oh,
saying? And
yes.
New Order was there for you, personally through this journey, and you joined the ranks of New Order. You see what I'm
Yes.
saying? And now you're out here helping others. How do you
Yes.
keep the balance in between for you, working with in your particular role, with everything that you have going on?
Well, like I said, this is something that I want to do. So I wake up every morning knowing that, this, I not only have to try to keep my son encouraged and try to get my son's voice heard. Like I said, there are a lot of other inmates in there right now. So I wake up every morning with this fuel of, fighting, no matter what it is, when it comes to trying to have Confederate monuments removed in the Marengo County area where I live, whether it's just still speaking out on my son's behalf, voters registration, which is very important right now. Me and my classmate Tamika Mack and Kimberly Johnson, we're holding, voter registrations for November. We actually did some for July, but for November also. But those, I try to keep myself busy. Uh, just trying to do things in the community, trying to speak up for people who are scared to speak up, speaking up for people who are, can't speak up for themselves. So that's pretty much what I'm doing on a daily basis now. Knowledge.
My apologies. I'm over here multitasking at the same time, listening, taking notes. Somebody came to my door and everything. So I'm
That's
trying to
okay.
get it together over here.
That's okay.
So, as far as activism and community outreach that you have going on, what are some of the things that you learned about that process so far? And also, what are some of the things you learned about you thus far in this particular lane?
Um, a lot of things, when this started, knowledge, I had to do a lot of reading. I had to do a lot of research on what was actually going on with my son, the racism, had to look up history, go back, to see why we have majority of white, nothing but white jurors on criminal cases when it comes to black males or black females. That's how it was years ago, and it's still the same now. Um, I've had to learn a lot of that, and it makes me angry on this. At the same time, it motivates me to just continue to go out and do this and fight. And what I've learned about myself is I think this is my true calling. I moved when God told me to move. I didn't move when Takesha wanted to move. I did it just from him telling me this is what I have to do. And I love to talk. So I really think this is my job for the rest of my life. And I'm loving it right now. I've learned that this is something that has to be done. Somebody has to speak out. Somebody has to speak up for the people who can't speak up for themselves, or the people who are
Right.
scared to speak up. And I have to be that person. And I'm just blessed right now to know this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. This is it.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. So, what's your family think about the decision that you chose to be an
Oh,
activist forever?
I had a lot of negative stuff from my mom, my sisters. Like I said, I have, my mom, my sisters, they didn't come out to help with the rallying. They were scared for me. Um, they didn't want me to do it. They felt as if someone would
Mm,
try to hurt me, or it would get my son more time or cause trouble with the judge. Um, and they almost held me back. My mom, especially, being concerned for me, and I only want her to be okay with what I'm doing. And I didn't have her blessings in the beginning on this. But about 4 days into me out there rallying in front of the Tuscaloosa County Courthouse, that fifth day, my mom was out there with me, rallying, holding up poster
mm,
boards, walking around the courthouse, singing gospel music, tearing the walls down.
mm.
So
That's right.
family support right now is good. I mean, I love her. I love my family. But that's a systemic problem that we have now, knowledge, as far as support, as far as, people getting out there really speaking up and speaking out on what needs to be said that's going on in the world today. Like you had Gerald out at the Wendy's in Atlanta with Miss Osborne and Miss Battle. No one was there to support him. No one was there to help say anything about this 8-year-old girl being killed there.
Mm,
We can't sit back and just get comfortable. But I guess it's becoming so censored now that we're just this is becoming a norm. you know okay, well, this happened, we did all this rioting, and I mean the protesting for George Floyd, but here's an 8-year-old baby,
right.
and not for them not to have support out there today. That was sad. Like I said, this is a systemic problem that we have around the world today. It's sad. It's really sad.
So, what would you say like some of your goals are for your activism beyond raising awareness? What are some other things that you want people to take away from the work that you're doing?
It's time to speak up. It's time to speak up. It's time to fight, and that's what I want to continue to do. I want to be able to get the young black men in this area registered to vote. I know a lot of my sons, classmates, and their friends. A lot of them are not registered to vote. A lot of them aren't going to the polls in July and November. I want these guys to get on board. I want them to be able to vote, but I want them to know that there's somebody fighting for them at all times. Me and New Order. We're fighting for them every day. We're fighting for them at all times. I want them to see that I care, and I'm going to fight for them no matter what. The black boys and girls here, I'm going to fight for their rights. I'm going to fight for them to not be brutalized by the police. I'm going to fight for them not to be alone, to feel alone out here in the world, and this is an ongoing job, and I won't be able to stop doing that. So I want them to know that they have support now. They have someone speaking up for them now in Alabama, all around the world. Right now, due to the virus, I can't travel with this new position that I have with New Order due to the virus. But once everything eases up and I can really get out there and show them that, well, hey, we're fighting for you guys, but Black lives aren't going to matter to Black people, to anybody else until they start mattering for us, for Black people. So I just want everybody to know, these guys to know, it took my son to get in this situation for God to bring out what I'm really supposed to be doing in life. This situation with him, it changed my life dramatically, and I think it changed it for the better. And I think it changed it because there's a lot of guys that sit behind bars doing time like my son. We can't get back these 3 years, that we've lost with him, and there's a lot of families that can't give that time back either. So it's time for someone to fight for them, get them out on parole, whatever it may be. As far as what New Order's doing, parole reform, we're speaking out, we're speaking up where the governor, officials, and everyone can hear us, so something can start happening. We can go in a different direction with incarceration and everything else.
Definitely. So your role as a national field director, what does that entail?
That entails me going around to different communities, seeing what the issues are. I'm working remotely out of the state of Alabama right now. That entails me going around to see what needs to be done here in the communities and worldwide, like I said, with the pandemic right now, I can't travel, but that insists of me going around when we're called upon, New Order is called upon, for me to go step in, get this situation handled, get started on what we need to do to get this situation taken care of, whatever it may be. Someone being killed or incarcerated, wrongfully convicted, or whatever we need to speak out on, voting rights or whatever it may be. So that's right now that's what I'm doing. I get up in the morning. Right now I'm focusing on the removal of the Confederate monuments here in Marengo County. So what I do is I get up and I go around and I try to find more Confederate monuments in this area that nobody knows about. We have I actually found, and like I told you, I was born and raised in Demopolis, been here all my life, besides when I moved to take on another job in South Carolina. But there are homes in Demopolis that were built by slaves. And these people have Confederate flags on their homes. Now, these homes have been here all of my life, but I've never paid it any attention. I've never noticed it. Probably rode by the home a million times, but it never bothered me. Um, right, but right now it's an issue. And like I mentioned it at the last city count, I went to the meeting with the mayor last week in regards to removing the Confederate monuments in Marengo County. And I told them that, about this house. These houses on this certain street that were built by slaves, and these people have nerve to have Confederate flags on their porches. That's not right. That's not right. And there's something needs to be done about it. There's certain things I want to put on my porch. I can't because I'm afraid it would offend somebody. And I know it would offend somebody, but this is the type of stuff that I'm doing right now, keeping up with the news worldwide. So when it's time for me to jump out there and go out there, just like what Gerald is doing, when I'm called, I got to be ready to go to try to take care of whatever situation may occur right now. Hey,
Yeah, this. Forgive me, my connection was breaking
that's
up over
okay,
here.
Knowledge.
So, um, they find this show and seek this show out. I'll tell you, it's so much truth that comes from the that come through in this organization every week. Like we had to change our whole show date and time, just kind of try to remedy this because we had a lot of, issues. I guess they really don't want this truth to be out. So I mean that New Order is on the job,
Yes, yes,
So if
yes,
anybody wants any information, they can go to the website www.nonhro.org, or y'all can call this toll free number 24/7 366 since we're in the leap year 1-800-346-5138. So this New Order National Human Rights Organization, we speaking this internationally. I definitely see the vision and the goal and the aim of this not I but we dream team, working all over the planet. Wherever injustice is, New Order will be there for a remedy. So
yes,
again, 1-800-346-5138, and then log on www.nonhro.org.
yes.
So these Confederate monuments that are there in a state like Alabama, like very very tumultuous racial climate and long standing family business. I wouldn't even call it racism. It's like custom practice. The good old boy system. All of this stuff that we kind of cloak it with.
Yeah.
Like I have. How do you have to navigate? Through these kind of ways on one side just regular, and then from a legal perspective on the other side, like kind of give us a picture of Alabama.
Oh, Alabama, Alabama. Well, like they say, white supremacists still rule Alabama right now. So, right now, um, we're just what I'm doing is I'm actually going to the mayor's office, speaking with him, making sure we're there for the week they have a meeting twice a month, making sure we're there for those meetings, every meeting to stay on top of the mayor, stay on top of the city council members. Um, at the city hall, when we went to the Rooster Hall on last week, we did have an outbreak of a white woman screaming about the removing of the Confederate monuments, but we did have law enforcement there um, to control whatever situation could have happened. People are getting so upset with us wanting these Confederate monuments removed, to their showing their skirt tails, and the police had to get involved and back her off. Once we got outside the Rooster Hall, but um, I hope that's answering your question.
Yes, I mean, as we move towards a climate of change or ascension, and some of these folks been living this way for I don't know how many generations, ever since we were kidnapped and brought here. So they've
Oh
been
yeah.
living off of that legacy, family business. For
Yes.
me, I like to speak very concisely. Like we say system and stuff like that. Systems come from families, and families
Yeah.
institute systems and rule. So
Right.
ever since these families instituted, what looks as a system because it moves systematically, it affects our life on every level, and we have to live with, the tyranny and oppression and the vicarious trauma transgenerationally of our ancestors being brought here and sold here. You see what I'm saying? So these
Yes.
figures become, idols in a way, for and very treacherous to the eyes and to the psyche of our people walking around, having to see them. And the flag stands for conquer. Like when you plant your flag, it's a sign that you have conquered, that you have taken over, that you are in power, and the inhabitants of the place are powerless. They must yield, they must submit. They must salute, this
Yes.
particular flag of domination. So, it plagues the psyche, on a multitude of ways. So as we are looking, for these things to be uprooted and moved, a lot of challenges come along with that, even erasing it from, the psyche of us and their psyche as well. So, yeah, it's definitely not an easy task. You understand what I'm
No,
saying? And there's a lot of
most
things
definitely not an
associated
easy
with it.
task. Not an easy task at all. Once I added the post to my Facebook page in regards to removing the Confederate monument with the meeting that we would have with the mayor, the comments, the racial
Mm,
comments, the threats,
right,
the mean things that were said, even by people that I went to high school with,
right,
it was just, it was surreal that you've been around these people all your lives, but you really didn't know they felt like this. I mean, you knew, but they didn't show
right,
it, but now they can't help it. It means that they're losing. They feel like they're losing if these monuments are removed, or they feel like they've been defeated, or they feel like, we're going to have this power if they're removed. And I think that's the problem that we're having with some towns. Like Salisbury, North Carolina, they removed their Confederate monument. I think it was on yesterday or today. Yesterday, they also Raleigh, North Carolina, also removed one today. So
right,
people, you have certain cities and states that are taking a stand to go on and remove these monuments to, stop the unrest that's going on in the air in their town, or the unrest, the violence that could quell if these monuments aren't removed. So
right,
I feel like they feel they're losing power and we're gaining by removing these monuments. In some towns, Salisbury, North Carolina, I feel like this mayor actually felt the people's pain. They know what it's going to cause if they don't remove these monuments. So, and I think not saying all mayors or against removing the monuments, but we have a lot of them are, and that's because family-owned businesses, that's been here forever, and it's going to be hard for everybody to get on one accord right now with removing these monuments. But we just have to keep working, and we have to be consistent on making sure once we go to that first meeting, we have to continue to go and fight. I put up a post today. We have another meeting July 16th at 5 o'clock p.m. at the Rooster Hall.
mhm,
Didn't have a lot of support there for the first meeting, but the little support I did have, I was grateful for that. But like I said, that's a problem. People not wanting to speak up, the older generation, they're not wanting to speak up. And I mean, we just have to be consistent in what we started and how we're going to finish it off. We have to remain consistent in everything that we're doing, and that way we can make
right.
sure that it's done. So these meetings won't stop. I won't stop attending them until something is done. And right now, I think the mayor here in Demopolis, Alabama, I think he's kind of leaning towards going on and removing the monument. So hopefully we can get that done soon.
Okay. So for the last few minutes that we have, you said you were dealing with voter registration. So let's kind of talk about November and how important it is, for people to be registered to vote.
Can you repeat that question, Knowledge?
I said, okay,
It's
so let's
breaking
take the
up.
last, few minutes that we have to talk about the importance of voter registration and people being registered to vote in regards to November coming up.
Um, right now, we're still going to be holding voters registration booths around the area. We've been doing it at the Theo Bradley Center. we didn't have much support at all. Knowledge. A lot of people didn't come out. So we're going to try to do this third one. I mean, we're done with July right now. We were able to hold 2 voters registrations in the past last month or so. So the next one, we're going to do it big, and we're going to hit it really hard in different areas of Demopolis and different areas of Marengo County to try and get more people out to vote. I'm going to doors. I'm serious. I'm going to doors, pulling people out that I know I don't see at the polls in November. They're going to be registered to vote, and they're going to be at the polls with me in November. So we're just going to hit it hard, make sure we get these people out here registered to vote before November. This is the really big election. We can change who we have in office. We can change what we want done. We can do whatever it is we want to do, but we have to have those voters out at the poll in November. So we're going to be doing big things with that, as far as giveaways, food, whatever may get people out of their comfort zone. The first voters registration we had 3 people to come out to register to vote. These 2 of the guys, one was in his 40s, one lady was 60 something, never been registered to vote. One guy was maybe 30, never been registered to vote. So we do have people here. More of those 3 is more than those 3 people in this area and around in these counties that are not registered to vote. So we're just going to hit it hard, go to some doors. I mean, the virus is not going to let us do much, but we're going to do the best we can to get these people out here to vote, so we know what we want to change. We're able to change it by getting people out here to vote.
Okay. Do you have a final message, for the people, for the listeners, and for the people that will listen to this show in the future?
Can you repeat that? You were breaking up, Knowledge.
Okay, I said, do you have a final message, for the people that are listening and for the people that will listen? Final thoughts from you.
For the people that are listening, if you know people who aren't registered to vote in your area, wherever you are, if you know people who aren't registered to vote, and I think we all have someone in our family who's not registered to vote, we get these people out here registered to vote. It's time for our voices to be heard. It's time for us to stand up for what is right. It's time for us to change what we want to change. And the only way we can do it is by having everybody out at the polls in November. It's nothing to be ashamed of. Even if you're 60, 70, we don't care. We don't care what the age is. Let's let your voice be heard for the first time. That feeling you will have once you're registered to vote and you cast that vote, that's something you can cherish. I love going to the polls. I never miss the poll voting because I feel like I need to be heard. I can't complain about something if I'm not trying to do anything to fix the problem. So we can't sit back, not say anything, and complain about who we're going to have in office next year, who are going to be our city council members, the governor, or whatever. Whatever these people do, we can't say anything about it if we're not out there voting. But we got to get these votes casted in. We got to have support. We got to get these. This goes for blacks, whites, brown, yellow, because there's a lot of white people that aren't registered to vote either, and there's a lot of people that are registered to vote. Democratic, Republican, I know some white Democrats, that at least one wasn't registered to vote back here a few years ago, but now they are, so it's time for us to get out of our comfort zone. We have to fight on a daily basis. This isn't something we can start and not finish. This is something we're going to have to continue to do on a daily basis to make sure we make this change. We're in charge of who can be in office. We're in charge of all of that. We can control all of that if we get out here and we vote and we do what we have to do. This is for prison reform. This is for your family members that's incarcerated. This will change all of this. We have a lot of people that are incarcerated for petty stuff, and they're still in there doing years of time for little simple stuff when they should have been home. So this may get your family member home. So this is what we're going to have to do. Get out here and vote and continue to fight for what is right. Support each other. When we're going to these city council meetings, meeting with the mayor, support your community. Get involved. Get involved. Start going to the town hall to see when are their meetings. See what they're discussing. Know what's going on in your community. So therefore you can speak up, speak out, and try to get some stuff changed in this world, because we need it. And we can do it, Knowledge. We can do it. If we all get out here, do our part, we can get it done.
Most definitely. And we have organizations like this, like New Order National Human Rights Organization, that are result-oriented and justice-driven. So I definitely thank you, Mr. Chandler, for coming on and spending some time with us and dropping these jewels on us, as we motivate here and, continue to make the best move possible out here. So thank you again for your time here today. And don't be a stranger. I got to talk to Gerald, see if I can get you back on again, And that invitation is open. That invitation is open for you and your family if y'all want to come on and speak about your son and everything that's going on. Just to keep everybody in the right space. Everything is very critical, and God is still in control. God is still God. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Continue to stay motivated. So as we close, just want to remind everybody, if you have questions, comments, concerns, if you find yourself or one of your loved ones in a situation where you think that their rights have been violated, we have a organization, an international organization, the Not I But We Dream Team, New Order National Human Rights Organization, here for you. 24/7, 366. We got an extra day this year, So go to the website, www.nonhro.org, or call the toll-free number, 1-800-346-5138. Again, 1-800-346-5138. Shout out to the president, CEO, Mr. Not I But We, Gerald Emerson Rose, and this dynamic Dream Team organization here for bringing justice in a place where injustice is. So thank you for your time today.
Yes. Thank you, Knowledge, so much for having me. I'll see you soon.
All right. You have a blessed day.
You too, Knowledge.
All right.
Bye-bye.